Everything looks fine from the outside. The job is stable. The people around you care about you. Nothing is technically wrong. And yet there's this quiet, persistent feeling underneath everything, like something is missing. Like you're going through the motions of a life that should feel like yours, but somehow doesn't quite fit. You can't explain it to anyone because it sounds ungrateful. How do you tell someone you feel empty when nothing is actually wrong? How do you justify that hollowness when, by every measurable standard, your life is fine? Carl Jung had a name for this feeling. And more importantly, he had an explanation for it that goes much deeper than you should be more grateful or just focus on the positive. His answer points to something real, something the emptiness is actually trying to tell you if you're willing to listen. The emptiness is not the problem. Let's start with the most important reframe. The empty feeling isn't a malfunction. It isn't ingratitude. It isn't depression in the clinical sense, though it can look similar. According to Jung, it's a signal, one of the most important signals the psyche can send. Jung believed the human psyche is always moving toward wholeness. He called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming who you actually are, not who you were told to be, not who it was safe to become, but who you genuinely are at your core. When you're living too far from that authentic core, when the life you're living is built more around external expectations than internal truth, the psyche sends a signal. And that signal feels like emptiness, like meaninglessness, like going through the motions without really being present in any of it. The emptiness isn't telling you that something is wrong with you. It's telling you that something is misaligned. That somewhere between who you actually are and how you're actually living, there's a gap. And that gap is what the hollow feeling lives in. The life that looks right but feels wrong. Jung talked extensively about the persona, the mask we wear to function in the world. The professional version of you. The version that shows up to family events. The version that knows how to say the right things, present the right image, meet the right expectations. The persona isn't a bad thing. Everyone has one. It's a necessary part of navigating social reality. The problem comes when the persona becomes the entire identity, when the mask is worn so consistently, for so long, that you start to forget there's a face underneath it. This is how a person can build what looks by every external measure like a successful life, and still feel profoundly empty inside it. Because the life was built for the persona, not for the self. It was optimized for approval, for stability, for meeting the expectations of parents, partners, culture, career paths, and social scripts. And all of that optimization came at a cost. The slow, quiet abandonment of the authentic self that was there before all the optimization began. The emptiness is what that abandoned self feels like from the inside. When you've achieved what you were supposed to want. One of the most disorienting forms of this emptiness is what happens when you actually get the thing you were supposed to want, and it doesn't feel the way you thought it would. The promotion arrives, the relationship becomes official, the house gets bought, the milestone gets hit, and instead of the satisfaction you expected, there's a strange flatness. A quiet voice that says, "Is this it?" Jung would say this is one of the most significant moments in a person's psychological life, because it's the moment the external program finally runs out of road. You followed the script to the end, and the script didn't deliver what it promised. And now you're standing there wondering what you actually want, possibly for the first time. This moment feels like failure or disappointment, but Jung would frame it as an opportunity, the first real opening for the authentic self to step forward and be heard. Because as long as the external goals were working, as long as the next milestone was keeping you moving, there was no reason to stop and ask the deeper question. Now there's a reason. The emptiness, in this sense, is not the end of something. It's the beginning of a more honest conversation with yourself. Hash what the emptiness is actually asking. Here's the question underneath the feeling, the one the emptiness is really trying to ask. What do you actually want? Not what should you want. Not what makes sense to want given your background, your responsibilities, your image of yourself. What do you actually, genuinely, privately want? For many people, this is a surprisingly hard question to answer. Not because they're confused, but because they've spent so long filtering their desires through layers of should and shouldn't that the real answer feels almost inaccessible. Or worse, it feels dangerous, because the honest answer might require change. It might disappoint people. It might not fit the life that's already been built. Jung believed that ignoring this question doesn't make it go away. The psyche doesn't give up. If you don't turn toward what the emptiness is pointing to, it tends to get louder. The flatness deepens. The going through the motions feeling intensifies. Sometimes it shows up as irritability or a sudden pull toward escape or an inexplicable restlessness that no amount of distraction can fully quiet. The emptiness keeps knocking until you open the door. Hash the unlived life. Jung introduced a concept that is, in my opinion, one of the most haunting and most important ideas in all of his work. He called it the unlived life. The unlived life is everything you pushed aside, the path you didn't take, the version of yourself you didn't allow to develop, the desires you dismissed as impractical, the creative impulse you ignored, the direction your life could have gone if you'd followed your genuine nature instead of the map other people handed you. Jung believed the unlived life doesn't simply disappear. It goes underground. It lives in the unconscious, quietly accumulating weight, and it makes itself known, often, as emptiness, as a vague sense of something missing that you can't quite name. This isn't about regret. It's not about wishing you'd made different choices. It's about recognizing that the things you pushed aside didn't disappear just because you moved on from them. They're still there, still part of you, still asking, in their quiet way, to be acknowledged. The question isn't how to go back. You can't. The question is how to bring something of that unlived life forward into the life you're actually in. What small version of that unexplored path can exist here, now, within the reality of your current life? That question, taken seriously, is often where the emptiness begins to fill. Hash meaning versus happiness. Jung made a distinction that most modern culture completely ignores. He believed the goal of a psychological life wasn't happiness, it was meaning. Happiness is a feeling. It comes and goes. It depends on circumstances. You can engineer conditions that produce it temporarily, and then the conditions change and it fades. Chasing happiness as a primary goal almost always produces its opposite, because the chase itself implies that you don't have it yet, which keeps you perpetually oriented toward a future that never quite arrives. Meaning is different. Meaning is what happens when your actions connect to something larger than immediate comfort or pleasure. When what you're doing feels like it matters, to you, to others, to something beyond the moment. Meaning can coexist with difficulty, with pain, with uncertainty. In fact, Jung believed some of the most meaningful experiences are the hardest ones. The emptiness that comes when everything is fine is very often the absence of meaning, not the absence of happiness. And the solution isn't to engineer more pleasurable experiences. It's to find or create more genuine connection to what actually matters to you, which requires first knowing what that is. Coming back to yourself. So what do you actually do with the emptiness? Not to make it go away, but to understand what it's offering. The first step is letting it be there without immediately trying to fill it. The instinct when we feel empty is to reach for something: food, distraction, busier schedules, more plans, more stimulation. These things aren't wrong, but if they're being used to avoid the feeling rather than understand it, they just delay the conversation the psyche is trying to have. Sit with the emptiness for a moment, not forever, just long enough to ask, what is this feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? When does it get stronger? When does it get quieter? What makes it ease, even briefly, and what does that tell me about what I actually need? The second step is following what genuinely lights something up in you, even if it's small, even if it seems impractical, even if it doesn't fit neatly into the life you've already built. Not as a plan, just as information. The things that make you feel alive, even briefly, are pointing toward the authentic self that the emptiness is asking you to reconnect with. The third step is having the honest conversation with yourself about the gap between the life you're living and the life that would feel genuinely yours. Not to blow everything up, but to see the gap clearly. Because a gap you can see is a gap you can begin to close, one small, honest choice at a time. One thing to carry with you. Today, I want to ask you something simple. Think about the last time you felt genuinely alive. Not happy, necessarily, not comfortable, but present, engaged, like you were actually here in your life rather than watching it from somewhere slightly outside. What were you doing? Who were you with? What was happening? That memory isn't just a nice thought. It's data. It's the psyche showing you something about what actually matters to you underneath everything you've been told should matter. Hold on to it. It's pointing somewhere worth following. I'll see you in the next one.